Hi everyone, today I want to talk about maps in PoE 2. I've made this list here, ranking them from best to worst, roughly in order, to give you a bit of an idea of which maps to go for, which maps to avoid, and I just want to give you all kind of additional information that I can share with you. I have a screenshot of every single map in the game. This was assembled with the help of my fiancée Nini and Togajero, a viewer of mine. And I also threw in something of my own, and I just kind of went through everything, and after blasting for, at this point, hundreds of hours, I've seen every one of those maps dozens of times, and I think I can kind of get a bit of a feel and some information shared to you. So I'll be going through each of these very briefly, just to try to give you a bit of an idea of what is going on in some of those maps, because there is certainly quite a difference in terms of the efficiency, the feel, and yeah, sometimes it's a bit of gut feeling, I guess. But most of the time there are certainly maps that I want to shoot for and others that I want to avoid. So maybe this helps you out. I'll also link this sheet here down in the description so you can check it out on your own. Maybe I'll switch some stuff around as well as we go. Maybe there will be some comments about certain maps here where I might be a little bit off the mark, but let me know what you think. So first of all, if I'm not mistaken, in total we have 42 maps. Now there might be one I missed or something like that, but I think these are all of them from the normal maps. I also have the unique maps listed here, but they are very rare and kind of far and in between, so they're not really that relevant, I guess. So what matters is like what you are doing most of the time here. Some of these are also maps that can only appear near citadels. Each of the citadels, so the iron, the copper, and the stone, they each have their own kind of like area and special maps that are attached to them and like nearby. So they are a little bit special. So for example, Mineshaft. It's not a map they can regularly find. And I also didn't really list them now by biome. Now we could also go through and like, you know, list all the biomes, but I felt like, at least to me, the biomes usually don't matter too much. It's more like the individual maps that I'm shooting for. In any case, let's get started here with the maps, and I'll show you a screenshot of each of them just to give you a bit of an idea of what they look like and helping you out to understand the layouts, because in some cases they are, for example, squares. In other cases they are like circles intertwined, or there's like, you know, corridors that lead into dead ends, and you might want to be aware of this in order to reduce the amount of backtracking and improve your efficiency. Let's start with wetlands here. This is in my best maps category. I don't have them really ordered within a category, so I'm just gonna go through them here. Wetlands is a nice open map. It also has a really good boss. You have seen here these pluses and minuses that are put in this list, which means that it's either a good or a bad boss. So whenever there's like, you know, a map with a plus, I tend to go for that map because of the boss. And it's like kind of like an easy, fast boss that is kind of safe, especially for me, like playing hardcore now, this is kind of important. But in general, there are better and worse bosses, so that's also something to keep in mind. Wetlands is definitely one of those that has a good boss, and in that case this is the Devourer, I believe, and it's actually two of them. So there are some maps that actually have two bosses. This is one. There's another one where you have to blow the Miller doubled, and they actually have doubled the amount of drops, which is pretty cool. So this is like a nice simple layout. It's basically like yeah, two circles. There's like a little corridor here on the side, but it's very easy to clear, lots of open areas, and this is kind of the mark of a good map in general. Lots of space, so you can do rituals, so you can do breaches, and no small corridors that, you know, slow you down or that funnel monsters, you know, into like one line to blast you with projectiles or something like that. Then we have Willow, kind of the same deal. There are just more obstacles. There's these like annoying little trees everywhere, so this might be something to watch out for, but Willow is generally nice, also has a good boss. Very easy to full clear here and not really miss anything. You just kind of like go around the edges and then kind of like work your way inwards. And then there's like a few like kind of like bigger like forest obstacles and rocks and stuff, but it's not really bad, and generally lots of open space too. Then we have Step, again, kind of the same story. It's just kind of like a diamond shape here. You can usually just kind of go around the edges on these kind of maps and then work your way inwards. At least this is how I tend to clear them. I kind of just like, you know, I teleport in from somewhere and then I just go around and kind of like do circles inwards. But it might depend a little bit on, you know, what kind of sneak mechanics you find. Maybe a breach will, you know, make you move around in like weird patterns, or there's like rituals or expeditions and stuff that do the same. But in general, this is how I approach clearing this. Then you have Steaming Springs. I also think this is a superb map. It does look a little bit more like stuff is going on here with like obstacles and so on, but it generally has lots of open space. It has nice monster types in my book. Sometimes there are monster types that are fixed on certain maps. Now I don't know all of them by heart. There are certainly some that I remember that kind of always appear, especially the bad ones in some maps. And this is one that is totally fine, I think. And it also has a really nice, easy boss. It's like the snake from Act 2. And I just really like going to Steaming Springs. It's just like a favorite map of mine. I like the ambience as well. It's just kind of cool. Then we have Savannah. This is usually a pretty short map, but also open. It just has a bunch of these like ruins here with walls. So you gotta be aware of this. Sometimes there's like rituals spawning inside these ruins. That can be a bit nasty. But other than that, nice, easy to clear map. Has easy monsters as well. And also has a relatively easy boss, but he can be kind of dangerous if he hits you with a big slam. So beware of that, at least on hardcore. You can get bonked, but other than that, I really like running Savannah every single time I see it. Then you have Sands Pit, probably like the favorite map of everyone, I imagine. Yeah, I don't have to say much here. This is just like a two-way beach map from PoE on, kind of. You go up one side, you go down the other side, you're done. The only annoying part about this map is that it has these freezing shades, so they come out and then freeze you with one attack, and you also can't damage them while they're in their shade form. So that is like, I think, a fixed monster type on this map, at least it appears very often, and I hate it. But other than that, it's a great map. It's very fast to clear. Then we have Rust Bowl. This one is also kind of like the Savannah map, very short open area, and it also has a very easy boss, the Rust King. So I really like running Rust Bowl every time I see it. You get completed very quickly. Then we have Creek, another kind of open map here. So you just need to be aware there are some of these kind of like side areas that you might want to clean out a little bit more properly. So whenever you start and then you see any kind of like, you know, alcove like this here, you want to maybe go around. Same here, kind of just go in. It's not like a true, let's say, diamond shape or something like that. That is just like an open area. But generally I like running Creek, also has a nice boss. Then we have Burial Bog. This is also a great map, I think. It's kind of like a one big circle, but again, kind of keep in mind these alcoves here. There can be like some of these. So you need to be aware that, you know, where is the circle going, and try to follow the path, but also make sure that you know, go inwards here, for example, or go outwards here in order to full clear these maps, because there might be some rares hiding. Also, when there's a boss, I think he's like somewhere in like one of these alcoves at some point. So the boss is very nice on this. It's like the tree from Aerodactyl 3. Very simple boss. Always worth taking. And then you have Blooming Field. I know that some people don't necessarily like it very much, but personally, I don't mind the obstacles on this map. There's like, you know, these little rocks and these flowers and these ravines and stuff. But overall, I really like this map. And I just think that when you have the boss, yeah, it's gonna waste you a lot of time, because you have to like follow the boss. This is like the Crow Bell from Act 1 all the way down. You have to 3 phases. It takes a while to take it down. If you have like a low DPS build, I think it's a pretty nice and easy boss. If you have a high DPS build, you're just kind of like losing a lot of time there. But overall, I really like Blooming Field, so I recommend this as well. So that's what I have here for the best maps that I like to run basically all the time, every time I see them, even if they don't have any mechanics or buffs or something like that, or they're not really on the direction I really want to go, depending on how much I want to hunt for citadels. I basically always go for these because it's just kind of like nice and chill to run. Now let's go for the good maps here. I have more screenshots. This one is Backwash. This is an okay map. It kind of reminds of something like Willow or so, but it has, you know, a bit more, you know, like little corners that you can easily miss. So you need to be aware that there's like these areas that are connected through these little corridors, and you have to kind of full clear the entire area. So you have to maybe turn around and then, you know, do this circle here and then this part here, and make sure you don't really miss anything before you continue onwards. So there's sometimes these maps that have like, let's say, multiple parts, and this is one of them. Also, the boss is the Queen of Filth. It's a pretty dangerous boss. She can bonk you, so be aware of that when you get Backwash with a boss. Then we have Bloodwood. I kind of like this map. It's very long, but it's relatively narrow with still enough space to fight and do league mechanics. So I really like this. Again, we have like a few little alcoves you want to be aware of. It's just kind of like one long line. It's kind of like a crescent shape here. And it can be like, I think it's rotated or something, but it always looks kind of like this. And I also like running this. It's a relatively simple map. Just make sure that you clean out these side areas. Then we have Cenotes. This is also something I really like. It's just kind of like a nice ambience and nice monsters and relatively open spaces as well. You just have a bunch of these little caves. There's like these corridors here of caves and stuff. So you have to be a bit more aware of where you're going. You see here, there's like these larger like rock obstacles and stuff like that. but overall relatively easy. It's kind of like a circle, and then maybe some other like open areas down here that you can go for. Then we have Crimson Shores. This is a map that I also put in the good map category. I was not 100% sure about this placement though, but generally also lots of space. Also like a very long winding map though, so you have to be aware there's always these little like bridges, I think, or docks that you like walk over to like the next part. It has like multiple parts, I think like 3 or 4 connected kind of like larger areas, as you can see here. Again, kind of focus on clearing out these alcoves and these side areas and then move on. And don't let some rares get stuck in a corner or something and they have to backtrack for the entire map. Other than that, I think it's a very nice and simple map. Here's Decay. I really like Decay because it's, even though it's an underground map, kind of like it has like a cave feeling, it's actually relatively open, as you can see, and also has a really nice boss. This is the Druid from like the Grim Tangle from Act 1. So it's like the easiest boss in the game pretty much. And I would always go for Decay, especially with a boss. But in general, Decay is a pretty nice map that I like running. Just kind of like easy to clear. You don't really miss stuff very easily. Just, you know, okay, be aware of, you know, some of those corners here and stuff, but you kind of just go around in a circle and then work your way in. Then you have Fortress. I also think Fortress is a pretty good map. So it looks like this. It's usually one big circle that has like some kind of like path through the middle, and this is the entire map. It just has a pretty crappy boss. It's the Jin Barrier from Act 2. So this can be a pretty long fight and pretty tough fight if you are not like bursting her down instantly, because she always goes invisible and these kind of things. So with a boss, it's kind of annoying, but overall Fortress is a pretty nice map, easy to run. Then we have Hidden Grotto. Now you might be wondering why I put this into the good category. I just think that it is also relatively simple to clear. It's just one big circle yet again, but there are obviously more obstacles and little corridors. Not that great for some of the League mechanics, but overall, at least I don't mind running Hidden Grotto. It is usually also relatively packed, so there's lots of monsters and easy monsters as well. So I don't really mind going for Hidden Grotto. But maybe some people would also put this into like the next category. Here's Hive, also a really favorite map of mine. Just a nice open area. This is like from Act 3. And there's like lots of little like crawling monsters coming out, which is nice when you have like heralds and stuff, or like the big explosion. But in general, yeah, easy layout. You kind of just go around the circle, and then you kind of like fill out whatever is left, and very easy to clear. Here's Oasis. This is like a desert map. This is also pretty simple. So you start, I think, somewhere here, and then you just kind of like go one big path. It also has like this almost round shape here, but it doesn't connect. And you have to make sure that you actually kind of clear out these larger areas in the corners, but there's not really that many of them. You just kind of need to make sure that every time you pass through like a little corridor like this, you go into the open area, and then you kind of just do a little circle in that area and then continue onwards before you miss something. Here's Ravine, also a pretty good map, I think. It's usually kind of like low density and stuff, and it's very long and winding, but you can't miss anything. And you still have enough space for, you know, breaches and so on most of the time. And it's kind of just like a nice map to run without really thinking too much about, you know, losing a monster somewhere or like backtracking or something like that. It's just kind of like a super long winding path here from one start to the end. Here is Riverside, kind of similar, but there's more obstacles and stuff and more corners. So you see this here. So just again, be aware. There's like many maps like this where you have these corridors that lead from like part 1 to part 2 to part 3 and so on. You see this exactly here. There's part 1, 2, 3 and so on. As long as you full clear each part one by one, you're gonna be fine. Just the boss is, well, probably the hardest boss in the game, or at least the most dangerous. It's the Silver Fist. So at least on hardcore, I do recommend to be careful about this. He will just bonk you if you are not careful. But other than that, yeah, pretty nice and easy as well. Here's Spiderwoods, I think another relatively good map. It has lots of like these little spiders as well, lots of density, relatively easy to clear. Has like a bunch of these obstacles, trees and rocks and stuff, but overall it's relatively simple, relatively open, and I also like going for this map. Here's Sulfuric Caverns, again an underground map, but I also like this one. It has lots of like kind of big areas like this here you see on the top here and on the bottom, and then there's like a few other like kind of like smaller like cave areas and so on that you have to go through. But I noticed that most of the time, at least, I don't really have trouble with like League mechanics. Also, the boss fight is relatively nice. It's like this Act 2 double boss fight with the bone construct and the summoner. So I like that. and generally I'm going for sulfuric caverns relatively often. Here's Sump, another relatively open area, but you have to kind of do multiple circles, like smaller circles throughout the map. You see this here, so you kind of go around here, and then go around here, and then go around here. But overall, enough space, I think, and just be aware that when you get a boss, I think this is the witch on the motorbike, basically, can be very annoying and takes a lot of time. So I kind of don't like going for the boss, but the map itself is kind of nice. So that was it for the good maps category. Let's move on to the bad maps. So we have 9 here in total, and now we're also going to see a lot more of these Citadel maps. So yeah, most of them are relatively bad, and we're gonna have a bunch here. Let's start here with Abyss. This is also another ground map, and you see here this is yeah, very winding, lots of little corridors, not really much going on. The boss also kind of sucks. This is Torgal the Defiler from Act 2. So relatively long boss fight, relatively tanky and stuff like that. And you also have this long spawn animation and whatever. I don't really like Abyss, to be honest, but occasionally I go for it because at least on hardcore the boss is somewhat safe. Then we have Augury. A lot of people probably put this into the worst maps category. I don't think it's that bad. Because it's just like easy to clear, you can't really miss anything, but people really hate the levers. There's like 3 levers you have to activate to go into the center, which can be annoying, but I don't really mind that, and I put it in this category. But it's kind of like you just go around one circle, press the 3 levers, and you're done. So I like that part about the map at least. Then you have the Crypt. I also think this is a relatively bad map. There's little space for like any league mechanics, but I do go for this map a lot when there's a boss, because the boss is very simple. It's like the Wax boss from Act 1, the flame guy. And yeah, I love doing that boss. And other than that, yeah, it's just like a very fast clear, so you can kind of finish it very quickly, because most of the time there's just like a few rares spread around the map. But it also means that you don't really get a lot of juice out of it. Then you have Deserted. It is kind of open, there's like lots of space, but I really hate running this map because so often it's so easy to miss, you know, some corridor or some alcove or some corner where there's like a rare hiding or something like that. There's like so many paths you have to take. I have not really found a good way to run this map yet that is like consistently full clearing and you know, not missing anything without backtracking. You see here there's like these large obstacles and you have to go around them, and then you have to go find these corners, and it's always difficult in this map to navigate. Then you have Gothic City. There's a bit of a scuffed screenshot here because I took this on my stream, but yeah, I don't really like this. This is one of the Citadel maps for the Iron Citadel. It does have a nice boss though, which is the Consort from Act 1, and yeah, I just don't really like these like corridors. It does have some open spaces as well, but overall it's like a very large open map and it's very easy to miss something. So yeah, I would try to avoid it unless it has a boss. Here's Necropolis, another Iron Citadel related map. I like this one a bit more than Gothic City. Has the Draven boss, so it's like the other part of the 2 bosses from Act 1. So I generally like running this one with a boss, but it's kind of mid when it doesn't have a boss. So there's like lots of little, you know, paths and stuff that you have to go through, and also has these like side areas where sometimes rares are hiding. You have to go into the door and these kind of things. Then you have Penitentiary, also an Iron Citadel map. So I also don't really like this. It is probably a bit better than the other 2, but it has the Executioner boss, so this is a somewhat dangerous boss for some people. And yeah, in general, I just don't really like the layout here, but there is a bit more space at least. Here we have Seepage. This is yeah, kind of a bad map. Lots of doors, lots of little corridors and stuff that you have to take. But usually relatively small and relatively easily cleared if you have to go through it. Also, the boss is pretty good. So whenever there's a boss on Seepage, I usually go for it because, again, this is a Druid boss, the same one that we have in Decay. They put him here too. And at least this is a bit of a redeeming factor. Here's Woodland. So this is like a big open map and it has lots of space, but you see here there's like so many obstacles and, you know, so many little areas that you have to clear out in order to not really miss anything. You have to kind of go through the corridors, do this here, go around, do this. So I don't really like Woodland very much, but with a boss, it's also kind of nice. I think this is the Miller boss, or even 2 Blooded Millers, I think. So this is kind of nice. You get like a double boss drops again. So with bosses, this is good. Without, yeah, kind of bad. And that was the bad maps category. And now we move on to the worst maps. So yeah, most of them are actually like Citadel related maps, but there are some candidates here that I guess everyone knows. But let's go through it. So let's start with Channel. This is also a Copper Citadel map. I really hate Channel. You see these paths here that you have to take. It's so easy to miss something and you have to like, backtrack a lot. And I think there's no good way of clearing this map without really like missing anything. So you have to kind of get lucky there. The boss is also relatively dangerous. So when you get one, you might want to be careful there. And yeah, in general, I hate this map. So don't run it if you can avoid it. Then we have Forge, kind of same story. This is just a regular map, but it also has like lots of corridors. At least these corridors are kind of like large enough to allow for, you know, some league mechanics to kind of shine. But yeah, most of the time it's annoying to run this. You have backtracking, you have a crazy dangerous boss as well with the Titan. So yeah, avoid this. Lofty Summit looks like this here, very long map, and you also have always like these kind of like parallel paths. So you need to start here and then kind of go around this and then go back and clear this part and then go up again and then go back. So very annoying because there's always these like, you know, kind of like little circles attached to each other, and then this long path to the boss if there's a boss. So yeah, kind of bad map. Here's a Mineshaft, probably my least favorite map in the entire game. This is just like taking super long, has a very dangerous boss as well. It's like the Fire Lady from Act 2. And so she can one-shot you with like the swings when she follows you around. So be careful of that when you have a boss. And if you don't have a boss, like I would never step into this. Then we have Mire, I guess everyone's favorite map. This is obviously horrible. So there's like these only narrow paths everywhere. And then sometimes you miss like the little one guy down there in the corner. So be careful, clean out those houses, clean out those little, you know, side areas. There's also this connection here that goes through the middle sometimes. So usually I kind of go like a circle and then I take this path inside here and hope for the best. Here's Sun Temple. I also really hate this map. I think this is a Stone Citadel map as well. So you have a relatively nice boss when you get it. But those two areas here, they have lots of walls and little rooms, and you have to like go through the doors. And also the monsters kind of suck. All these Vaal areas actually have really dangerous monsters, and you know, they kind of like blast you with projectiles and explosions and everything. So you want to be careful in this map. You also have the sun that kind of bothers you all the time. For example, when you're playing an energy shield build, it kind of like prevents your recharge and these kind of things, which is just annoying. Here's Vaal City. It gets even worse, turns out, than Mineshaft. But yeah, this map is also super large, super long, has a dangerous long boss fight, and lots of dangerous monsters. So again, this is like in a Stone Citadel. Stay away. Then we have Vaal Factory. This I think can be also in the Citadels, but it's also like a regular map. Kind of the same story as before, like lots of doors. Yeah, lots of little corners where rares might be hiding. There's not really a good way to kind of clear this and not miss anything, I feel. And yeah, always trying to stay out of this. Then we have the Vaal Foundry. This one is maybe a bit better because it's a bit more like straightforward. So as long as you kind of clean these side areas, you're fine. But also little corridors, little paths, doors everywhere. You can get blasted by these Vaal monsters everywhere. And if you have a boss, then you also have to take down the elevator, blast down the boss, and yeah, kind of annoying. And that was also it for the worst maps that we got here. Now I can show off a few more of these unique maps real quick. I don't actually have like screenshots of all of them, but here's like a Vaults of Kamasa in case you're curious. This is kind of like the Vaults of Aziri map from PoE 1. There's no monsters here, so this is usually where I save like my juiciest, most rippy T60 maps for that I don't really want to run when you have like Elemental Pen, Turbo, Crit, and 2 extra damage types or something like that. So you kind of go through and you click a bunch of these like treasure chests and stuff, and you get loot. So it's kind of nice. There's a bunch of hideouts that you can find. So they're always like very small. So I would recommend to not waste like a tier 50 maps on these unless you have a lot of them. Usually it's go in on like a lower tier. Same with the Lost Towers. I also recommend just kind of like throw in whatever random lower level keystone you have, because you don't really get much back from these. So that's another example of a hideout here. And yeah, this is kind of how that goes. Then there's also 2 more that I don't have a screenshot of. Moment of Zen, there's not actually any monsters. This is just the vendor. You can get 1 unique item for free out of a choice of like 10 or something like that. I'm not 100% sure if like map tier matters. I think it might. So usually I put in, again, like one of those crazy rippy maps that I don't really intend to run anyway from a higher tier, but maybe it doesn't really matter. So I don't know. And we have Untainted Paradise, this is the experience map. This looks a bit like the Cenotes map here. So we have that one. It has like a similar layout. It's like this, you know, jungle and like a beach area or something. And it does have pretty rappy monsters, so be aware of this. You do get a lot of XP there, you do get no loot, but it can help you to kind of like, you know, finish out leveling up, you know, when you're close to the next level or something, and then maybe you want to go for some bosses, or you want to go for something where you know you might die or so. So it's nice to run it then. And that also concludes my video here. So let me know what you think. Is there anything that I was really like off for, or maybe you have some other opinions about some of those other maps? Maybe there's something I missed. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope this helps you out when you're blasting through the end game. So just some general ideas, like what the maps look like, and you know what maps to go for, and why certain maps are good and bad. So hope this helps you, and I'll see you guys next time.